So yesterday, my mom says, whatever you've got growing in with the tomatoes is going to kill them. There's too many. And I think I might see another one. Not sure. No. Do you see this? Yeah, there were like hundreds of those in here. I'm throwing them all out as I find them. Yep, there's another one. No, that's not. It just got buried. So this poor little one yesterday was wilty and everything because it didn't have any things. Because, do you see that pile? Yeah, all of that was in there. Someone had dumped a bunch of, I'm assuming, pumpkin seeds in my tomato planter. Oh joy. All right, guys, it's time. I'm kind of in this little bitty reading slump, and my first thought was, maybe I should reread one of the Goudges or something to kind of like cleanse my palate. I really think that Vera Wong did a number on me, and so I was like, I'll get something a little more meaty and something that really stirs my faith, and maybe I'll get a new Goudge, so I was like, I'm not kidding, I headed straight to find out what other books there are because reasons, and I thought I'll do this, and I was like, no, and I realized that I haven't read any more Goudge because the dogs are barking. That's why. No, I haven't read any more because I haven't done this ranking thing that I promised myself I would do. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Be right back. Turns out the lovely child next door was antagonizing them. This lovely child is like 11 or 12. We're not talking 4 or 5-year-old. I'm like, really? Anyway, so with all of that, I just decided I'm going to rank, and I'm going to go over what I loved and I didn't. I checked out my reviews to make sure that I got all the things right. I gave my, it's really funny. So I always make a smoothie every day. Get up, kefir, blueberries, tiny bit of milk, blend, frozen blueberries, blend, and done. And that's every day. Great for gut health and for the eyeballs. So I'm like, let's take care of the two things. If I had something I could do to take care of fingers, I'd do that too. So if you know something that I need to be doing to take care of my fingers, let me know. But yeah, so I was like, we're doing this. These poor dogs, it is so hot out here, but they won't stay in the house if I'm out here. So there's going to be a lot of panting, and there's nothing I can do about it. You can drink the water, it's okay. No, I'm not letting you out. Anyway, we're going to start with DNF and work our way up, okay? So, coming in at dead last, DNF'd and didn't keep, was The Child from the Sea. I got through quite a bit of this, and I was bored stiff. And so I did some research about the book to find out, what am I going to find in this book? And basically, this is the story of Charles the First, the Civil War Charles, his supposed first wife. There's speculation as to whether she really was and all the stuff. It's about her from child through all the things. And so I go to my friend Anna, and I'm like, is this going to get better? Am I going to be glad that I finished it? And she said, I DNF. So I did. And it was such a hard DNF that I got rid of it right away. I was like, nope, done with this, not happening here. Because no. So here's the thing about Goudge, and I figure this should go in here because it'll probably get brought up again. Goudge was a historian at heart. She loved history, and if she has a fatal flaw as an author, it is that she didn't know what parts of history to include and what parts to allude to and what parts the story that she's trying to tell didn't need. It was like she had to put it all in. Every little thing she found, she had. And it's easy to do. You get excited about all these things that you find, and you want to put them all in, and you can't. Even when you've, trimmed it to as much as possible so that it's only what's related to the story, then you still have to go back in and you still have to cut out, because just because it's related doesn't mean it helps or does any way. I know, I still so hot, but it's your fault. You're the ones that want to come out. I might take them in and make them stay. It really is hot out here. I'll be right back. Okay, we back. So basically, Goudge puts in too much history. And in this one, that really showed up a lot. It showed up in a couple of others, but this one, and I finally just was like, no. Not only, there wasn't enough in it that made me go, I'm going to get something out of it to keep reading. I think that's what it was. And maybe that was in the second half of the book. It's a chunker. And I was bored stiff. So I didn't finish it. That's DNF number 1. DNF number 2 was Towers in the Mist. This one, I still have my bookmark in. I made it about a third of the way through. And this is another Civil War. She really liked the English Civil War. This is another Civil War story. This one, about the time I give up, and I'd be like, this is it. Something interesting would happen, and I keep reading, and I get interested in it again, and then it would go right back. And so I will probably read this again someday, but Towers in the Mist is number 3. And I don't even remember what it's about. Elizabethan Oxford, where cathedral spires rise through the mist, is a crossroads that brings together scholars, clerics, university students, gypsies, and an impoverished wanderer named Faithful. Faithful is a poor orphan who travels to Oxford in hopes of studying at the prestigious university. When he meets the daughters of an Oxford Don, they catapult him into a life that turns his dreams into reality. In this coming-of-age tale, the excitement, squalor, and beauty of English Renaissance unfold through the lives of 2 girls growing toward womanhood, Oxford students approaching the threshold of distinguished careers, and their elders navigating the complicated waters of 16th century England. It sounds really good, right? Yeah. Bored stiff half the time, but again, I only made it a third of the way. So I do want to try this one again. There's a chance that this one could move way up the list if I get to the end, like I did on some of the others. But it is a bit of a chunker compared to some of the others. Let me see how many pages we're talking about here. It's 400 pages. And so it's not a true chunker, but compared to some of the others, it kind of is. And yeah, I was DNF. It was a DNF. So there's those 2, my DNFs. Now we're going to start ranking the books that I finished. Next up was The White Witch. And this one I gave 2 stars. When I started reviewing, I had rounded up from 2.75-ish to 3, and I dropped it down by the time I got done doing my review because it was such a problem. So again, we're in the Civil War, English Civil War, and there's all that goes on there. Okay, this book contains a lot of what I really don't like to read about. And so that, I'm sure, plays into it. Maybe other people who don't have the same problems that I do would be okay with it and might really love it. My friend said she thought when I got to a certain point, I'm like, should I keep going? She's like, yeah, it gets way better. And she's right, it does. But also keeping going is where my biggest objections came in. So, you've got that. So I am going to read the synopsis for this book because I don't want to get it wrong. Let's do that. So I didn't keep the book. It's gone. It went bye-bye right away. So, never does the 17th century seem fresher than in the books of Elizabeth Goudge. That's pretty much what she writes, right? Who weaves history and political intrigue into a past delightfully alive. Set in England at the outbreak of the Civil War, The White Witch brings to life the fields, forests, and homes of rural Oxfordshire. When Francis Leyland, an itinerant painter with a hidden identity, meets the noble Hazelwood family, or it's Hassel, one of the two, who devote their lives to the Puritan cause, he encounters young Jenny Hazelwood, whatever, whom he carries in his memory through the hard years of war. In the village nearby lives wise and gentle Frangia, a half-Romany, whose skill in herbal healing and clarity of moral vision bring life and vigor to the community. Pay attention. They say clarity of moral vision and bring life, okay? She befriends Francis, and a whole series of adventures unfolds in this story of allegiances. A nobleman's allegiance to his cause, a priest's allegiance to his faith, and an herbalist's allegiance to her life's work and to the Romany children she longs to protect. Expansive, romantic, meditative, and told in Goudge's visual style, The White Witch explores the costs of zeal and the power of healing when the subtle lines of allegiance that holds village life together are strained by national conflict. Okay, so this Frangie, you know, with the moral compass and everything, yeah, she's the White Witch. And there's some seriously disturbing stuff in this book. It's really interesting that the focus is on the painter, because I remember particularly this boy and how, and maybe I'm remembering the wrong book, but the boy he's a little boy, but because he's the boy, he's going to be the heir. And so he's like, they're like twins, I think. And he's going to be like somebody, and, you know, and he knows it and he lords it over everybody. It's really weird. But then there's, this, so in here we have married people. I don't remember if they're both married or just one is, but there is a marriage that there is definitely some emotional, if not maybe even like physical infidelity. Yeah. And unlike other books that address the fact that infidelity happens, I didn't get the strong moral compass from this woman that I'm supposed to get. I got the opposite, including the whole White Witch, you know, evil witch thing. Yeah. So part of this there's this very dark magic in here where that involves the skull of a small child. Yeah. And I just, I'm cutting it there because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It was gross. And it was, and other people might not be bothered by it in the way that I was. It wasn't like graphic, but it was told in such a way that your mind fills in all the blanks, or at least mine did. And I hated it. There were things that I learned in the book. There were some lessons. I remember learning lessons and going, well, at least I learned that. The problem is that I no longer remember it, because all I can think about are the things that I wish I hadn't read. So, of the books that I finished, it's my least favorite. I don't like it. I won't. I thought for a while there I might reread it again to see if I have the same feeling about it. Yeah, not going to do it. Not going to do it. So, The White Witch, definite no go, no mo for me. Next on my bottom ranking, just a bit, I think I gave it 3. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars, Green Dolphin Street. So in Green Dolphin Street, the feel of Gone with the Wind came because of the way the main character, I don't remember her name, and I'm not going to look it up. The way she responds to things is very Scarlet-esque, and it has that almost soap opera drama-ishness to it. In this one, do they start on one of the Channel Islands? I think they start on one of the Channel Islands, but I'm not sure about that. And then they end up in New Zealand, very much in the way that Scarlett O'Hara manages to steal Mr. Kennedy. It's a similar-ish thing. And they get to New Zealand, and things are not the way she thought they would be. Surprise, surprise. And then their whole life there, all the things that go on there, and yeah, it's just, I didn't enjoy most of it. But there were things, I don't think I didn't keep it, yeah. There were things in it that I really liked. There were some really great things, and at the end, there were some really wonderful scenes of redemption and forgiveness and beautiful stuff at the end. But it wasn't worth reading for me to get to that. I can find that same feel in other books without all the drama. I'm okay with drama in books, but I'm not okay with contrived drama, and this felt contrived. I didn't enjoy it really at all. They made a movie or two out of it. I have not seen them, and I don't think I will. I'm just not that interested. Although I would love to, if they had filmed it in New Zealand, I would, because it takes place partially there. That I might have liked. And I did enjoy the little bit of New Zealand history that we got. That was kind of cool. And she didn't overload it like she tends to do, which was also kind of cool. So slightly up from the White Witch, we have Green Dolphin Street. Okay, then we have the Middle Window. And I think this one might have gotten a higher ranking if I had been prepared for a little magical realism when I went into it. So Elizabeth Goudge, being a historian, being a Catholic historian, sometimes seems to get a little caught up in the mysticism that was a part of the Catholic experience during the Elizabethan and, you know, the earlier ages. And sometimes I think she likes to put it in the stories, and it's really magical realism in the stories, but I think it's inspired by the other. And so it shows up sometimes, and when you're not expecting it because you're expecting historical fiction, it kind of throws you. And that's what the Middle Window did for me. Most of these are 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars, and it might, if I reread it, it might go up. Now that I'm prepared for it and I know what to expect, I mean, it's a little creepy, and it's okay that it's a little creepy because I know what I'm looking for now, right? So let's read this. It says, after a chance encounter, Judy Cameron abandons the busy whirl of London and whisks her parents and her fiance away to remote Glen Suliog in, I'm not pronouncing this right, the Highlands. As Judy explores the isolated house in Glen, she becomes absorbed in an unknown and yet strangely familiar world, and questions arise that she must find the answers to. How can she know this strange house and its laird Ian MacDonald so well? Why does the middle window in the parlor fill her with such fear? And who is this mysterious Judith who haunts her dreams? Haunting romance set in the majestic Scottish Highlands, from the author of Green Dolphin Country. Anyway, it's interesting. Green Dolphin Street is also called Green Dolphin Country. Kind of weird. So this is a true, in some form, a true time slip book where it's like she's slipping back or they're slipping forward. It's kind of weird. You have the past and the present merging, and because of that, some things that, because of the past and the present merging, some things that would normally have bothered me, there's really nothing wrong with her fiance. There really isn't. But she gets to this house in the Highlands that she has seen this picture of. She sees this picture in London and she wants to go there. She's just drawn by it. So she convinces everybody to go with her up there, and including her fiance. And normally when you've got a fiance, there's nothing wrong with just the kind of abandonment of that commitment can really bother me. Engagement isn't a marriage. It isn't. But it should be pretty serious for you to break one, because you did give a promise. It's not the same kind of vow as a marriage vow, but, you know, let your yes be yes and your no, no kind of thing. So I don't take engagement breaking lightly. And in here, I don't think the charge of a light break can be made. I don't think I'm giving anything away there. It's pretty obvious once you start reading what's going to happen. I mean, it's a romance in a historical focus, slightly magically realistic, time slippy kind of way. There's more to it than this. There's like this whole historical background in this house, and how is she or is she not connected to it. I think it's pretty obvious what the answer to that is, but it was really good, and I liked it better once I got through. There was a part where I was having some serious theological issues. I don't even remember what they were. I just remember going, wait a minute. that's not right. But then I got through it further and I was like, oh, I think she means this. I think I misread it, or she wrote it badly. And so I thought there was a theological issue that I later decided there wasn't. So, some of these are like really mushed together. I'm ranking them because I have to. That one, because I had that time of, I didn't think I was going to give it more than 3 stars. And then I easily bumped it to 4 without a doubt. And I think it could go up higher if I reread it. But for now, because there was that moment and I haven't reread it, it's staying where it is. Okay, this one I'm not going to talk about for a minute because it's part of a series. But the next in the ranking is the second book in the Elliott family trilogy, Pilgrim's Inn. And I'm not going to talk about it for a minute, but I gave that one 4 stars as well. Okay, next up, and this one probably should have gone slightly below the middle window because of where I think that one's going to end up later. But for now, I'm leaving it here. They're like neck and neck right now. Island Magic. This one, let me read the back. In a spellbinding historical novel that illuminates love's magnificent fury, Elizabeth Goudge gives voice to the heart of sincerity and truth. Overwhelmed by the struggle to make a living on a dying farm, Rachel and Andre Dufranc's world is twisted by fate when Ranulph Maybier, a mysterious shipwrecked man, takes refuge in their home. A lonely wanderer, Ranulph never pictured himself coming back to Bon Repos, the home he once deserted. But when Rachel insists he stay with them, his reappearance begins to work away at Rachel and Andre's marriage and family, resurfacing emotional and psychological torments that have long been submerged. As the story unfolds and the 3 begin their journey toward reconciliation, they learn a critical truth. The environment in which people best thrive is created through love. And yeah, so this one, part of my problem was there is definitely a... Goudge isn't afraid to deal with humans as humans. Let's start there. So when humans do stupid human things, she shows it, and she doesn't apologize for showing it. And if people handle it right, she shows that. And if they don't, she shows that. And most of the time, it's very clear that someone should or shouldn't behave in the way they do, but without her actually saying, well, this was wrong, and don't forget that while I continue to tell you the story. It's not like that. But she's not afraid to show people who are married being attracted to other people and why this is wrong. It shows up in how it affects other people, or how it affects themselves, and the demons that they're dealing with, either rightly or wrongly. In this one, we have that story, but most of the story is told really from the perspective of the children, and there's a lot of forgiveness and unforgiveness and themes like that in this book. The more I read, the more I got out of the book, and the reason it got 4 stars at all, it would have been 3. But I learned so much from this book, particularly on forgiveness and reconciliation and love, not in the romantic, or even filial sense, but more in the doing what's best for others, because that's what they need, and we need to be this for them. That's what I got out of here. And so because of that, it got 4 stars. If it hadn't had those great lessons, it definitely would not have. It would have been way under the middle window. It would have been right up there with the White Witch almost, but there was just so many really, 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 really good lessons. Next up, this one's really hard. It's tabbed quite a bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's tabbed quite a bit. This one, yeah. In some ways, this is one of my top favorites. These next ones are so tight together that it's not even funny. I'm just going to say. I feel like this one should be above a couple of others, and I think the reason that it's actually not above one other is because it's the I don't have that copy of the book out here right now. But, okay, so The Scent of Water, I'm going to read it first, and then... Mary Lindsay is a born and bred Londoner who has enjoyed her city life, including a prestigious job, along with friends who share her love of the city's pleasures of theater, art, and music. But fleeting memories of a childhood visit to her father's cousin out in the country are revived when the news that the woman has willed her home, the Laurels, to Mary. She makes an uncharacteristically sudden and life-altering decision to leave London for the country. The gradual unfolding of Mary's understanding of herself, of the now deceased woman who has bequeathed her home to Mary, and of the people of Appleshaw are all woven together in a most memorable tale of love's redemptive power, between parents and a son, between a husband and wife, and for a woman who has waited all her life for this man who belongs to another. Yeah. So this one, when I read that last line on the back of this, I was like, great, I'm not going to like this book. Excuse me. But Goudge does it for me. So in this one is, if you've got someone who needs encouragement during or just coming out of a dark period in their life, some form of depression, not clinical. I don't think this would really help with clinical depression, but with, just a really dark time of life, and you're either, in it and need someone understands me, or has just come out of it and wants to, they kind of need that moment of, it's normal to have these darker times. I mean, we forget that David did, right? This would be a great book. So yeah, she does. She visited this home as a child, and I can't remember why, but it feels like her mom didn't want her to go, and the dad took her anyway. But anyway, they go, she has a wonderful day, and then they pretty much forget about this cousin. They're just like, okay, we visited you once, we did our family duty, and that's the end of it. But then she dies and leaves this home. Mary moves to, I think it's Appleshaw. Yeah, Appleshaw. And, moves into the Laurels, and all the things that go on in the village, how she integrates herself into the lives of the other people. And yeah, she falls in love with a married man. He never knows it. She doesn't show it. And instead of because at first my reaction would have been, absolutely, I have no doubt whatsoever. If I were in that position, I move to this village, I meet friends, I fall in love with a married man, I guarantee you I would have withdrawn from that man and his wife so fast it wasn't even funny. And I would have cut off the arm kind of thing. Don't want the temptation. She doesn't do that. And at first I was like, you're flirting with danger, and I was afraid of where it was going to go. But, spoiler, it doesn't go anywhere. What I loved about the book is that she shows that Goudge shows these things happen. It's not right. She never pretends it's right, but she shows that it happens, and she shows that you can still treat someone that you might be having to turn over to the Lord nightly with everything in you. Lord, take this away, thorn in my flesh stuff, that you can still treat them with Christian love and charity and neighbor, and as a neighbor, loving them better than yourself. She did it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story, and I loved it. And I'm so glad that last line didn't deter me, because it could have. I'm just saying, it could have. All right, we're going to talk about these three. We're going to talk about these three. This is the Eliot trilogy. It begins with Bird in the Tree, which I gave 5 stars. Yeah. Bird in the Tree, I gave 5. Pilgrim's Inn, I gave... Apparently, I didn't actually rank properly. So, this is... I liked them in degrading order. So, Bird in the Tree, I gave 5 stars. Pilgrim Inn, I gave 4. And Heart of the Family, I gave 3. And basically, what we have in this series is... You have the Eliot family. Lucille is like the matriarch, if you will. She's the great-grandmother. They live in the house, Dame Rocher. And it's a beautiful, just like her dream home, if you will. And they've all grown up there. There's the favorite grandson from her favorite son. She definitely plays favorites in her family. Her daughter who lives with her and takes care of her, and whom she appreciates and loves. I won't pretend that she doesn't. She's a little bit like my grandmother in that way. My grandma definitely had a favorite child. That was my dad. There was no doubt about it. Everybody knew Dad was her favorite. But she loved her family intensely. So her other sons didn't feel the loss of love from her in any way. I cannot imagine any of them would have said, oh yeah, well, Ma didn't love me. That's not true. Grandma Evans loved everybody. And the same went with the grandkids. My dad's oldest 3 kids were her favorite grandkids. There's no doubt about it. All the grandkids knew. They knew that those 3 were the favorites. But she loved her grandkids. She invested in her grandkids. She didn't like me at all. She did not like me. She loved me. I was her grandchild. She loved me. She did not like me. But she didn't treat me as an unlikable being. And she didn't make me feel lesser than. I just knew. It's one of those things where I just knew. My mom knew. We knew. My dad, she totally missed it. But he was the favorite. So it was kind of hard for him to see. That's a little bit like Lucille. She loves these people deeply, but they're not the favorite. And so, David is definitely going to inherit that family home. And in this first book, David has fallen in love with his brother's ex-wife. Really awkward. Grandma's not happy when she finds out. She blames the wife. And to a certain extent, I don't disagree with her. The ex-wife is an ex-wife because her husband wasn't exciting enough for her, really. I mean, she's a very shallow, messed up woman. And then throughout this book, she and David have to come to terms with the fact that they're engaged, and what's going to happen. And they kind of come to terms with the fact that this can't happen. We're going to tear up the family. She decides she's going to go home and try to reconcile with her husband. Okay. It was hard, and I hated lots of things that happened in here, but I loved what Goudge did with them. She did some great things. And look, I only tabbed one spot in here. I wonder if I should even see what it is. I don't know what my tabs are, but I only tabbed one spot in this one. And in, my next one, I've got tons of tabs and it didn't get as many stars. So, I'm just saying. So there's a secret that Grandma had. She says, I wanted to tell him, of course, but I saw no reason why he should be upset just to give me peace of mind. Confession is often a rather selfish luxury, I think. And I wonder sometimes if this is like why God has said, we need to confess our sins, but confess to him. Sometimes we have to confess to each other. Sometimes you have to. But there are times where the sin is completely on us. No one's going to know. And me confessing to you that I've had this horrible grudge against you or whatever, that I've never shown, you've never sensed, whatever. All it's going to do is make you feel bad. This needs to be taken care of between me and the Lord. But if you have felt, if I know you have felt that, bad attitude, if I have treated you wrong because of it or whatever, then I need to confess to you as well. And this is what she's getting at. This was something that her husband hadn't known about her, this grandma, great grandma. Anyway, her husband hadn't known that she had had this sin in her life. And telling him about this sin and all the things that could have gone with it could only hurt him. It could not help him in any way. Couldn't help their relationship. So she took it to the Lord herself. I thought it was beautiful. Gave it 5 stars, even though there's a lot in the book I don't like. It makes me mad. I want to punch people. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Stop it. But again, this is what Goudge does so well. She shows just how messed up we are and what we have to do to fix it. The second book, The Pilgrim's Inn, David's back. Nadine is back. Nadine and her husband and family are living in this Pilgrim's Inn near Damrocher. David comes home, and he comes home with a. Is the secretary in this one? I think the secretary's in this one. Let's read the back. Let's find out. I don't think I read the back of this one. Yeah, I'm going to read the back of this so you can get a feel for who these people are. So Rosemary Tree says, matriarch Lucilla Elliott fiercely loves, prays for, and protects her family. She has dedicated herself to making her house on the English coast a welcoming refuge of comfort and beauty, and she intends for all of it to be passed to her favorite grandson, David, who loves the home as she does. But her lifetime of labor is about to be destroyed by the very one who reveres her the most and understands her the best. When David falls into a love that threatens Lucilla's most cherished ambitions for her family, she gathers her strength to oppose it. Can she persuade David to put duty before passion? Her faith and inner fortitude have served her well in the past, but now she is at a loss to resolve the turmoil between herself and her beloved grandson. Family tradition, the love between a man and a woman, the ultimate truth of a local legend are all woven together in this beautiful story, beautifully told. It says it all without giving you all the richness, which is kind of cool. Then the Pilgrim's Inn says, oh, it's got an endorsement by Ruth Bell Graham. Anyway, Pilgrim's Inn. Few had truly understood David Elliott's anguish at losing Nadine. Then he came back from the war, lonely and further devastated by its horrors. But his return to the Elliott family refuge on England's Hampshire coast is gradually healing the devastations of his soul and spirit. Not far away, Nadine and her husband have settled with their children into a wonderful old inn. Surrounded by a wild and mysterious wood, the ancient guest house seems to mend minds and bodies. Pilgrims from the past and present find their way to this healing, comforting oasis, sweeping readers into a story of intertwining destinies of loves lost and gained. And yeah, this... See how many? There's way more. Not tons, but there's way more tabs in this one. This one, so in the first one, David and Nadine decide to do what's right instead of what they want. Nadine goes back to her ex-husband. They reconcile and they move to this Pilgrim's Inn in this book. Okay. David gives her up, goes to war, does his thing. When he comes back, they did the physical separation, but now they have to root out all the other connections and sever them because, just deciding to be apart from someone, which is why The Scent of Water is so brilliant, because just cutting herself off isn't going to solve the problem if she doesn't deal with the heart issue. And so in this one, they're dealing with the heart issue, and it was really beautifully done. Let me read Heart of the Family. Despite the crinkled pink petals strewn in the path of those who would have preferred red, 4 generations of Elliots have survived the war and are moving forward. The family's remarkable matriarch, Lucilla, is still with them. Oh, I thought it was Lucille. Anyway, though she's facing the dark night of the soul. David Elliott finds his career as successful and much acclaimed actor a definite strain, and his brittle conversation and seeming arrogance earned him the dislike of his new secretary, Sebastian Weber. Sebastian is another survivor of the war, and he has a story far more painful than any of the Elliots. While with them, he wrestles with questions about his own disconnected existence. All is turned on its head with his arrival, and this intricate story continues as each member of the family struggles to make sense of life with all its love, pain, loss, and loyalty. They all yearn in their own ways to glimpse the high price of love, and through this, they are ultimately able to love each other and God more fully. This is what I wrote, and I think I'm just going to share what I wrote because it works better for me. I said it took forever to finish this book, mostly because I didn't want it to end. But the last quarter, I don't know, it felt like Goudge scooped up all the loose ends of the series and tied them into one huge knot and called it good. I did like seeing that David finally grew up. The rest just kind of floundered around and meh. I was loving it so much until then. Additionally, there were some seriously uncomfortable moments in the last half. I think it's just a different time in how we see things now, but still miserable. Yeah. Didn't enjoy the second half of, or probably the last third of Heart of the Family. It just, yeah, it wasn't. So these two are like neck and neck. 1 minute, this is my favorite. The next minute, this one is. But, I don't know, The Scent of Water comes really close too. So, there's that. But we're going to talk about The Rosemary Tree. I should read it. Let's read it. Let's make sure we get this right. The Rosemary Tree. In the raw aftermath of World War II, the Wentworth family faces fundamental questions about living together and loving each other despite their differences. John Wentworth, a country vicar caught between leading his family and his church, is far less ineffectual than he feels himself to be. His wife Daphne hardly realizes how much she loves her exasperating husband. While John's great aunt lives in the dilapidated family manor house, their 3 daughters attend a dysfunctional school, captive among embattled staff. It is Harriet, John's aging former nanny, who holds the family together through her love and empathy. When Michael Stone returns to town, recently released from prison and unwittingly discovering his former flame, he disrupts the lives of all, including his own. But it could be just the disturbance the family needs to break free from their prisons as they begin to discover how life can be transformed by second chances. There is a slight similarity to the Elliots. Instead of great-grandmother, we have the nanny holding things together. There is a family home, but it's falling apart. There are things going on. But in this one, this vicar he's such a sweetheart. He's a little absent-minded. He's kind of an absent-minded professor. He tries really hard. He loves his wife dearly, tries really hard to please her and can't. She has it in her mind that she has married beneath her, not necessarily socially, but she sees herself as very basically high class and him as rather mediocre. And so, he got the better end of the stick in her mind for a significant portion of the book. If you'll notice, I don't know if it shows, but the first half of the book or so, I didn't tap much of anything. At the last half, I tapped quite a bit because it got better. And it started off good. I'm not saying it didn't, but it just got better and better and better and better and better. When this guy who had been in prison comes to town, it's obvious from the back. He knew Daphne, and she had planned to marry him, and then she didn't, and he has been in prison. And so she has to confront all that past and root out stuff that she's been hanging on to for years. And she has to watching her discover how beautiful their marriage really is beautiful. Watching these children be protected when they weren't is beautiful. This school is horrific. It's just horrific. Just everybody kind of comes into their own. It's almost like Bildungsroman in this, but for adults. I mean, it's like they all come of age in middle age. I don't know. But it's just a beautiful story. If I was going to pick another book up to read right now, I wouldn't even have had to think twice. If you asked me this yesterday, if you asked me in 4 weeks, if you asked me, last year, I would have said The Rosemary Tree, without a doubt, 100%, because there's just something really, really special about it. But there's also something crazy special about The Dean's Watch. So I gave this number 1. And in a sense, the Dean in here has a similar life situation to the vicar in this one. They both have wives that they love dearly who do not appreciate them. The Dean has a very different story than the vicar. Can't remember what his name is. John. His name John. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell you. Wentworth. Is it? Yeah, John Wentworth. But anyway, it's. But there are some definite similarities in there. I will say that. And it's this story. Oh my goodness, the friendships that are in here are just. I want to be Miss Miss Montague. Okay, I want to be her when I grow up. But first, let me read the back. In a remote and mid-19th century English town, Cathedral Dean Adam Eiskopf holds a deep love for his parishioners and townspeople, though he is held captive by an irrational shyness and, ironically, an intimidating manner. I loved that she did that juxtaposition. Yet, when an observant watchmaker who does not think he and God have anything in common strikes up an unlikely friendship with the dean, it leads to an unusual spiritual awakening in both men that eventually reaches out to the entire community. It says, an compelling saga of an unlikely friendship threaded together by redemption and grace. Yeah. It is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. The dean is he's just such a wonderful man. And Miss, what's her name again? Montag? Oh my goodness. She is just so sweet. And I think his wife's name is Bella. Or is that the little girl? It could be the little girl that captures his heart. She's just so sweet. But anyway, his wife is a piece of work, and I could have smacked her. I should have. That's what's really neat about Goudge. I really can't say much more about this. Okay, I'm going to read my my review here. This is quintessential Goudge. Rich characterization, delightfully flawed characters who have consequences for their failings, but not every virtue is rewarded because life. Detailed descriptions that don't burden the story. I wish Dickens could have used a TARDIS and come forward in time to learn from her. And a story that teaches without preaching. What more could you ask for? As it is, I want to be Miss Montag when I grow up, but I'll be content not to be Emma Peabody. Okay, so that was the wife. No, can't be the wife. Has to be somebody else. Anyway, Emma was not Bella. I think Bella was the name. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. I want to learn from Isaac's unwillingness to enter the cathedral and the Disene's lesson. The Dizene? If you're a dean and you're diseased, are you dizened? Yeah. The dean's lessons in humility. Not what you think. All in all, it's a beautiful story that will keep me thinking for a long time. And when it stops, I'll probably read it again. Yeah. That pretty much puts it, how it is. What Goudge does so well, and what I wish more authors could, and what I really have been trying to learn from, is she knows how to create flawed characters who don't pull back from what that character would actually have done. If the character is self-centered enough that they don't care who it's going to hurt, then they hurt people. I know I will tend to give my character enough pride not to be willing to look bad. And then I don't have to make them go the full, right? And so she does it. She shows just how bad it is to be whatever it is that they're being, right? And so, man, they're flawed. They do flawed things, and there are consequences for them. And like I said, not all of their virtues are rewarded, because not all of ours are. She just writes really realistic characters. Even if you're supposed to hate them, they're hateable. I'm just saying, if you were supposed to absolutely despise what they do, you do. You kind of can't get away from it. So, yeah, there's that one. And I didn't rank this one at all because it doesn't fit in with the others. The Little White Horse is her, like, I'm going to call it more like middle grade to YA-ish. It's like upper middle grade YA-ish. It's just a fairy tale sort of story. And there is this little white horse, but it deals with reconciliation and redemption. And it's the same stories that we expect to see, but it's got a feel of kind of like MacDonald and Lewis all like mashed together. Choices, how we respond to people, and the long-lasting effects, and what you have to go through to make restitution, and all the things. It's in here, and it's just a beautiful story. My friend Anne read this to her class, and I believe they were middle schoolers. I could be wrong about this, but I think they were middle schoolers, or at least upper elementary. But I'm not kidding you. These boys and girls alike loved the story. They were begging for more chapters, and I can see why. It's just a great. I have this beautiful cloth-bound slipcase version, but I stuck with the ones that match all the others because why not? But yeah, this, If you could only read one Goudge, this might be the one to read. If you like kind of fantastical fairy tale-ish stuff. Otherwise, if you could only read one Goudge, I'm going to say the Rosemary Tree because it's an easier read than the Dean's Watch. Okay, this one is an easier read than this one, but if you want just a really beautiful friendship between two men and how it affects an entire town, then the Dean's Watch. But this one, I would say, if you like fantasy and you want an easy read to just get a feel for her, there's this one. But it is fantasy. It's not like real life. If you're looking for something more realistic, then I would go with the Rosemary Tree or the Dean's Watch. But beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stories. These are my Goudges minus a couple that I got rid of and one that I haven't put away yet, so it's not where it belongs. Yeah, that's kind of sad. But I read 12 in just a little over a year. And yeah, they're good books. I really recommend it. And now I gotta know, which one do I read next? What haven't I read that I should read next? I have a couple others by her, but they're nonfiction. So I'm looking for, are there any other fictions that I need? Anywho, I have, for Monday, I have created, or I'm in the middle of creating something really fun. It's going to be kind of like a tag/challenge sort of thing, but I'm going to like do a mashup of characters sort of from a couple different authors, and that's all I'm giving you, and it's going to be fun. So yeah, looking forward to that. Anywho, I will see you later, and yeah, have a good one.